Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Late Night Talk episode 16. Um so first of all, I just want to say that, of course I really appreciate, you know, you guys, the ones, my audience that do, you know, um watch the vids, of course. I've been watching the series Late Night Talk episode 16. Well, the Late Night Talk episode series, not Late Night Talk episode 16. That's this video right now. But yeah, I will say that I really appreciate it. A part of me wants to maybe go continue doing this, but try to figure out how I can get back to maybe doing those little small vids in between like the day, throughout the day. Cause like I looked at my videos, and by far my most popular video, like without a doubt, is of course that Nathan Thomas video. The offensive lineman out of Louisiana Lafayette. You know, and that video currently right now, at least the last time I saw, which was like this morning or last night, um, that video has 976 views right now, y'all. That video has 976 views. I don't really get this too often. Matter of fact, I've never really obviously experienced anything like this before, having a video that popular. Just, started this channel, of course, a few months ago. And, just like it's crazy some of the progress that we've made up to this point, and we have 976 views. And the reason why on that video from Nathan Thomas, and the reason why I want to point that out is that if we because we need 24 more views for that video to hit 1,000. I'm waiting. I'm trying to see that video get to 1,000 views. If it gets to 1,000 views, I'm gonna make my own Nathan Thomas film breakdown. Something that I don't normally do. Like, I normally kind of do this platform normally, not something that I'm used to, but you know, we're going to try to do that. Because I know a little bit of something, as far as techniques, of offensive linemen. I know a little bit, to where I feel like I can probably be able to talk about some things. So that video gets to 1,000. I'm gonna make a Nathan Thomas video, film session breakdown. So yeah. And now let's get into the topic at hand. So I was watching a like I was watching a the NFL timeline, you know, documentary or episode, on YouTube earlier today. Brett Favre returns to Green Bay. And I don't know why, like I had this thought in my head watching a Brett Favre video. Obviously, we know that Brett Favre and Dak Prescott, they don't have too much alike. They both have publicly said that I don't play football for the money. All right, like if it all came down to it, I could play it for free if I had to. Like these are two guys who have literally said publicly that they would play for free. Like they don't really play for the money. And obviously they both wear number 4. And not to say that Dak Prescott has, not to say Dak Prescott is a gunslinger or anything like Brett Favre. He's nowhere close to the gunslinger that Brett Favre was. But you can definitely see that Dak Prescott, he does like to gamble sometimes. And what I will say is he is pretty successful when he does gamble. I think at this point of his career, he's got all the confidence in the world that he has enough arm velocity and accuracy to be able to fit the ball in some of the tiniest of places, you know, like you go look back at that touchdown throw that he threw on a slant to Amari Cooper when we were playing the Browns back in 2020, one of the most viral it was one of the most viral passes of that season. Maybe still is. But yeah, that touchdown that he threw where he zipped it, don't know how in the world he got it in there, but got it in there, and Amari Cooper wound up catching it for a touchdown. There was a defender coming from a beeline to the ball, and he came in, but the ball literally just went right past him. I still don't know how that didn't get intercepted. But you can look at that play and say that, you know, that play was pretty similar to when Brett Favre threw that ball to Antonio Freeman, lasered it right between two defenders against the Cincinnati Bengals a long time ago. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how in the world, like, that was unbelievable. You know, you can pinpoint and compare the two throws and see kind of the similarities. But, the point is that despite the fact that I was watching a Brett Favre NFL timeline, video earlier today, for some reason it had me thinking about, like Tom Brady. And all I hear, actually, before I even get to the Tom Brady thing, obviously I've heard, about Dak Prescott, going to tight end university and, with a bunch of tight ends there, Jake Ferguson included, of course, George Kittle, he was throwing passes to him, look, the fact of the matter is, I'm sure George Kittle, he'll never admit it because he's just like, he wants to be on that, like, F the Cowboys, type attitude and stuff like that. So he'll never admit it, but I'm sure he'll tell you, man, bro, if I could catch passes from, I know he'd be telling Dak, behind the scenes, like, hey, yo, man, I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like, I would love to catch passes from you, man. Like, I mean, I really, if you were on the market, I would love to. I know we have Brock Purdy, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I would love to be able to catch passes from you. He'll never admit it, but he knows. He knows. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that yeah, we heard about, for about a month, really, around a month at this point, about Dak Prescott going to tight end university with his teammate Jake Ferguson, of course, and other tight ends like George Kittle. And, Dak kind of came out and said that, like, I mean, I really love the game. I love the game. I'm almost obsessed with it. And just being able to come out here and being able to not just throw to, it's one thing when you're out there with your teammates for your actual, like, particular, like, team and you're throwing to your receivers, but I feel like you never really, like, get to prove how good of a quarterback you really are until you have the ability to prove that you can throw the ball to anybody. Not just the CeeDee Lambs, the Brandon Cooks, the Jake Fergusons, the Jalen Tolberts, not just those guys, but throwing to the George Kittles, the Mark Andrews, maybe different, like college players that he might have been throwing to that were tight ends. But he basically kind of explained about why, like how important it is having a tight end, on your team. Like how important the tight end position is. Which, by the way, speaking of, I'm going to speak a little bit more in depth about that when I get to when we get to this next topic about this offense. How it can be ran through Jake Ferguson. So I will get to that. But yeah, my point but yeah, Dak was talking about that stuff, explaining that stuff, and he just talked about like how just the feeling of being able to come out and throw the football and throw to some guys, like it's really fun, and I really, enjoy that, and I try to make football, and I try to make football like a 365 days a year, thing for me. So anytime that I can go to, certain, spots, events or whatever, go to a certain spot to be able to throw the ball around with like teammates, guys around the league. Like I really enjoyed that, and I will not, fail to miss that opportunity. So yeah, basically, like I said, Dak he loves making, you know, football like almost like his life. Like football, he loves like trying his best to make it like a 365 days a year type thing for him. That's how obsessed he is with the game of football. And it really had me, and for some reason, when I was watching that Brett Favre video, I was thinking about Dak Prescott and that whole situation going to tight end university and explaining all that. And it had me thinking about Tom Brady. Like we all know that Tom Brady is held in high regards as, the best quarterback in NFL history. The best, NFL player to play the position. He won a lot of rings. He's got more rings individually on his own than any franchise as a whole has. I mean, only the Pittsburgh Steelers and New England Patriots, which, mind you, all six of those came under Tom Brady. They're the only, they currently right now hold the top dogs as far as Super Bowl rings, each of those two franchises with six. Tom Brady has seven on his own, and that's why I've always really, idolized the guy, and, loved what he did, but yeah, the fact of the matter is that we hold Tom Brady to this, regard as how great he is, and he is. But another thing that they always talked about is that a lot of people brag about is his obsession with the game. Understand at the end of the day, like this game, you gotta be obsessed with it. You have to be obsessed with it. Like you gotta be you gotta make it like your 365 day a year plan. Like that's really what it's all about. So, and his ex-wife Giselle always would talk about how she would sometimes catch Tom Brady, at like she would catch Tom Brady sometimes like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, watching film, watching, tape in his living room. You know, he would be up late at night at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, like, and yeah, Giselle would actually catch him sometimes in the living room watching game film, watching tape on different, like teams and stuff. Like, the guy is a freaking, he's literally a freaking psychopath, you know, but in a good way. But Tom Brady, that was just what he was, and just that obsessed with the game, wanting to always make that a part of his day every single day. It's just unprecedented, and I can't do anything but, you know, honor the dude for what he did, because that's just the sort of things that you sometimes have to do to be great, especially in his situation. He wasn't the most physically gifted. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the most athletic. He never had the strongest arm. But the dude had work ethic. The dude had smarts. He had football IQ. And he also had such a big passion and obsession of the game. You know, Unfortunately, there's guys like Jamarcus Russell, you know, and Johnny Manziel who exist, who they were physically gifted, but they just didn't quite have the heart, the passion, the obsession of the game to really, like become great and become, be able to, like elevate their game, to a better level than they did. And unfortunately, those guys became draft busts, you know? So, I mean, that's just the kind of price that you have to pay, when you have that type of attitude and mentality. But yeah, my point is that I look at Dak Prescott, and we haven't heard from like any of his girlfriends or anything like that saying that they've caught him, in the living room watching tape, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But we've seen him where even during the pandemic, remember during COVID, when we first, by the way, when we first drafted CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, he welcomed CeeDee Lamb with open arms. Matter of fact, he really wanted to get up to date with the connection and chemistry with CeeDee Lamb as quickly as possible, get a head start. So Dak Prescott built a football field, a 50-yard football field in his backyard. In his backyard, and called CeeDee Lamb, and they had private workouts. Of course, they had private workouts working together, in his backyard, trying to run routes, just trying to get that connection and timing down with CD. And you can see how much it really has benefited the two as far as becoming a great quarterback to wide receiver duo. Arguably the best passing combination in the league right now. You have your Joe Burrows and Jamar Chases. You have your CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. Well, CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. Apparently, CJ Stroud and man, that dude's got a lot of weapons. Shoot. You got your, Geno Smith with DK Metcalf. Before that, it was Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. You got your Jared Goffs to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, those quarterback to wide receiver combinations are nice. Another one that I didn't mention, Tua and Tyreek. But all those quarterback to wide receiver combinations might sound great to everybody. But if you ask me, there's no other passing combination in the NFL that I want more than Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Because when they are on, oh my God, it is almost impossible to stop them. You know, you got like flaws on other different tandems out there in the league on how you can stop them. But I'm telling you, when Dak and CD are on, when they are in sync, which a lot of the times they are, man, you can't stop that combo, man. You can't. You can't stop that combo. The Dak and CD combo. All right, order it now for $10.99. But either way, yeah, so and that all started from the get-go. Dak Prescott building a 50-yard, football field in his backyard so he could run, he could get, work in with CeeDee Lamb, and get a nice little head start while everybody else was still, of course, like coping with the COVID and pandemic and quarantine and stuff. Dak and CD, they had some private workouts so that way that they could get a little bit of a head start on something that they would end up making that would become very, very special. We've heard, about Dak Prescott with, Jalen Tolbert, him bringing in the other guys like Jalen Tolbert and Brendan Cooks in, to so he can get work in with them. And yeah, like I mentioned a while ago about him basically trying to make football like 365-day a year thing for himself. This guy is truly locked in and fully 100% obsessed and all in with this game and this very, very precious sport of ours that we get to watch, and you got a guy like that who makes it like his everyday, an everyday theme for himself. Like, the dude's a freaking animal, I mean, he's an animal, like, I mean, it's just fact. And like I said, I could argue that I would say that, from what I've seen, I feel like Dak Prescott he might be more obsessed with the game of football than Tom Brady was. I know that's crazy. That sounds like a hot take, but it just is. The dude is just fully 100% all in to his job, and he'll go out there, he'll play out there with a bunch of kids, to be honest with you. He'll play out there with a bunch of kids, like if it means being able to, play football, and being able to, run with guys and, play it to the absolute competitive level of the game, because Dak is very competitive, So when you look at some of the things that go on and you hear the stuff that he says, I really believe that, Dak Prescott, he might be more obsessed with the game of football than Tom Brady was. And Tom Brady's the GOAT. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. But I would say that, yeah, I feel like Dak might even be more obsessed than Tom Brady was. I never thought I would ever say that, but I'm just saying, like, I just feel like it's fact from some of the stuff that you hear, some of the stuff that you see. Like, I mean, it's just there. Now I want to get to this offense. What to expect from what is year 2 of Mike McCarthy's offense going to look like? What is it going to look like, ladies and gentlemen? Well, as I've, of course, mentioned numerous times, year 1 of Mike McCarthy calling the plays, year 1 of Mike McCarthy's system, Dak Prescott led the league with 36 touchdown passes. And you can say whatever you want. You don't just trip or stumble into leading the league with 36 touchdown passes. That doesn't just happen. So to all the haters out there that want to say that it was a fluke, that they want to see him do that again, oh yeah, you're going to see him do it again. And matter of fact, not only are you going to see him do it again, you're going to see him do better. He's going to do you one better. All right. Dak Attack said once before that he believes Dak can throw 40 touchdown passes this season, this upcoming season, and put himself fully in that in that driver's seat to win league MVP this year. I'm all in. I know I keep on saying that term all in, because I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm pretty much at this point kind of trolling the Joneses at this point. Fact of the matter is, they're never going to see these videos, but I'm just saying, like, to troll the Joneses, a little bit, just a little bit, with saying that term all in a lot of the time. But yeah, like I said, I'm all in on that statement that he made. I do believe that Dak Prescott can bump his numbers to an even higher stratosphere, without a doubt. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is he led the league in touchdown passes in the first year of Mike McCarthy's system. And mind you, his pass protection wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest, and I am fully expect Terrence Steele to vastly improve and potentially get back to his 2022 form again. I know people give him a lot of criticism for for how bad he looked at times this last year in 2023, but cut him some slack. The dude was coming off of a torn ACL. Like, it's just, you got to cut him some slack, like the dude was in a recovery process. The recovery process, people think it starts when you when it first happens, or when you first get into rehabilitation. That's what people try to tell you. No, technically the rehab doesn't start until the season finally gets here, and so he went through his rehab phase, and now he's got that year under his belt, trying to recover, and he could very well be back to his strong form from what he was in 2022, where I argued that if he didn't get hurt, he would have been a Pro Bowler. He would have been a done deal Pro Bowl selection that year. And I'm not talking about a Pro Bowl alternate like Tyler Biotish was. No, I mean, he would have been without a doubt a Pro Bowl selection if it wasn't for that injury. And that's just fact, and you can't tell me otherwise. So yeah, expect him to improve and, potentially get back to his 2022 form. Not making any, promises that he'll get back to his 2022 form, his dominant form, but he's definitely going to improve and definitely get a whole lot better this season. You know, definitely, during training camp. So expect Dak Prescott's right side of pass protection to improve a little bit more. Also, expect his protection to improve because he doesn't have freaking. Speaking of Tyler, the aforementioned Tyler Biotish, unfortunately, he tried his best. He always tried his absolute hardest, but unfortunately, he just wasn't good enough, and he was always getting pushed back into Dak Prescott's lap almost half of the time on his dropbacks. And then you have Tyron Smith, who, don't get me wrong, he was really he was good. He was really good this past year. Got himself a Pro Bowl selection, but I still saw flaws. I still saw signs of a guy who was definitely getting up there in age. I remember when he went up against Khalil Mack earlier in the 2023 season. Man, Khalil Mack freaking, you know, he basically gave Tyron Smith an escort into Dak Prescott. He gave him an escort. He said, "Oh, here you go, Tyron. Right this way, sir. Right to Dak Prescott. Boom, sacked." So, clearly he's shown, like a little bit of signs of, decline still. And at the end of the day, the dude is only going to get 1 year older, 1 year older, and is going to continue to just not be as dominant as he once was. So at the end of the day, we had to make a decision, and we had to get younger and better at the offensive line, drafting guys like Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe. So yeah, I'm expecting his pass protection, his offensive line to be way better this season, and he's not going to get put on his back 39 times this year like he was last year. So another thing that I want to talk about really, I want to talk briefly about, Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cooks. I made a video, a while back ago about how Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cooks were having, private workouts, together, trying to, develop on their, Jalen Tolbert trying to develop on his craft. Brandon Cooks just trying to, maintain his craft at the same time mentoring Jalen Tolbert, trying to get him better and trying to take him to that higher level, of a receiver that he can become. So, I just want to talk about those guys briefly because I think that we know Brandon Cooks is going to be wide receiver 2, and I'm very confident that Jalen Tolbert is going to be wide receiver 3. So, we saw flashes from him last year, and I can see him getting even better, and we're going to see a whole lot more of those, 50-50 head top catches and flashy plays. We might see that double, this season, and him show his presence at an even higher level. So I wanted to just talk briefly about that and how those guys could help Dak Prescott and improve this passing game. So, and now I want to talk about the young, the promising, the up and coming Jake Ferguson. I want to talk about him because we saw Jake Ferguson his rookie year show flashes, and this is why, I'm very high on what Jalen Tolbert can become this year, because you saw Jake Ferguson when he showed flashes in his rookie season in 2022, including against the Philadelphia Eagles, just like when Jalen Tolbert showed, he kind of announced himself a little bit against the Eagles as well, catching a couple, late game passes that got us back in that game. So this is why I'm so high on Jalen Tolbert, because of the ascendance of Jake Ferguson after his rookie year when he showed flashes. I mean, he was hurdling guys left and right, including on Thanksgiving against the Giants. I mean, the dude clearly is not afraid to show his athletic ability on display, including on a national stage. But yes, and speaking of him showing his athletic ability and showing some of his dog mentality on a national stage, he showed it on so many occasions this past season in prime time, including the game on Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks, where he sunned Jamal Adams. Obviously there's better defenders out there. There's better pass defenders out there than Jamal Adams. No offense to him, but I'm just saying, you see the attitude, you see the dog in him. I saw when we were playing the Eagles on Sunday night where, you know, Jake Ferguson, I'm not gonna lie, was looking kind of iffy because the Eagles had just scored a touchdown off a sack fumble to cut the lead from 24-6 to 24-13. And now we had back-to-back, incomplete passes. And so it's like, uh-oh, now the Eagles could get the ball back with a chance to make it a one-score game. And then Jake Ferguson saved the day on 3rd and long when Dak found him and he caught the ball in a little bit of traffic, and then he carried an Eagles defender down the field for a big gain, because that's just what Jake Ferguson is all about, and that's what he will bring to the table. That physicality, that attitude, and we got enough physical, attitude to this offense. Now we're getting even more of that back with Ezekiel Elliott. So, very excited and interested to see how that works out as far as how much better our red zone ability is going to improve this year. We were number 1 in the league in scoring offense last year without having, a great red zone offense. Matter of fact, there were a lot of, drives that we had that wound up, that died, due to our, inefficiency in the red zone and us having to settle for a field goal. So we left some points out there. I mean, just imagine what it could have been. We probably left about maybe a total of about 100 points out there on the field. And I'm not exaggerating. So either way, yeah, think about how much that could improve. Now, the jury, of course, is still up on how much our running game is going to improve this year compared to what it was last year. The jury is still up. But as far as the passing game, I think that already still makes us strong. Just a question of how effective, how much will the running game improve with some of the things that we did this off season. So, keep a lookout on that. Keep a lookout on what Jake Ferguson, could, be this year for Dak Prescott. We already talk about the CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott connection. Man, what about the Jake Ferguson and Dak Prescott connection? What about that? Because I'm going to be honest, you know, I believe that Jake Ferguson can catch close to 100, get close to 100 receptions this year. You know, we already saw last year down the stretch in the second half of the season when we started utilizing him more, how big that he could, become for our offense. Now see what that's going to look like for a whole season? Man, bro, y'all just don't understand what we got right now on the offensive side of the ball, and how special this offense truly can be. You know, the fact of the matter is, we still have the top offense in the NFL dating off of last year. A lot of people are trying to make their rankings of offenses heading into the 2024 NFL season. The fact of the matter is that we're still the top dog. We're still the top dog offense in the NFL until further notice. Until I see us at the end of the year, no, not number one, we're still the top dog. And I expect us, to continue to be the top dog, just with the fact that we got a lot of our weapons, a lot of our guys from last year coming back on the offensive side of the ball. And of course, the head coach and quarterback, being even more in sync and having even more chemistry and experience to be able to build off of from last year. Man, bro, sky's the limit, man. So to close, yes, I believe that Dak Prescott, it might be even more obsessed, with the game of football than even Tom Brady. And yes, this offense, I mean, the thing is, it's very hard for our offense to reach even higher heights based off the fact that we were tops in the league last year. So just being able to maintain that and more while being the best is something that could, go a long way for our team as far as our championship pedigree. So let me know y'all's thoughts and opinions on this, especially let me know y'all's thoughts and opinions on me saying that I believe that Dak Prescott might be even more obsessed with the game of football than even the great TB12 Tom Brady, And yeah, let me know y'all's opinions on how y'all feel about what the offense can become this year. So to all my audience, to all of Cowboys Nation, of course, like and subscribe. This is Late Night Talk, episode 16, and we are out.